What is going on, everybody, and welcome to my Ludum Dare 41 Postmortem for my game Email Phishing, a Tower Defense Phishing Simulator. Certainly hope I grabbed your attention with that off-the-wall title there, because it pretty much was an off-the-wall theme, so I made an off-the-wall game. So if you're unfamiliar with Ludum Dare, it's basically a game jam that takes place over the course of a weekend. And essentially they drop a theme at 6 p.m. Pacific time on Friday, and then you have either 48 or 72 hours, depending on what category you enter, from that point to create a game based on that theme. So for Ludum Dare 41, this was the 41st Ludum Dare event, the theme was Combine Two Incompatible Genres. Now, a lot of people really did not like this topic off the bat, at least from what I've seen. I saw a lot of people posting on the Ludum Dare message board saying, what the heck, I hate this theme, this is the worst one. And I was in a couple Twitch channels and some Discord chats of people who were also participating in the game jam who were really not happy with the theme. Me, on the other hand, I kind of like these off-the-wall themes where it kind of forces you to think of something weird and crazy. In fact, I think I voted for this theme. So if you did not like the theme, feel free to blame me for being a part of why it was selected. Interestingly enough, out of all the different themes that were available, this one and I think one other one were the only two to actually have a positive score. Basically the way it works is you can either do +1, 0, or -1 for each theme. And then those are all compiled, and then whichever theme has the highest votes after all that is calculated is the theme that is chosen for the event. So anyways, a lot of people didn't like the theme. I personally enjoyed it, and the game that I created is called Email Phishing, a Tower Defense Phishing Simulator, and that's email phishing with an F, not a PH. It's kind of a play on words there. But basically, if you want to try the game out for yourself, feel free to go to the link down in the description below. That'll bring you to the itch.io page for my game, and you can play it right in your web browser. Also, while you're down in the description clicking on links, feel free to click the link to my website, which is homecookedgames.com. And once you're there, feel free to sign up for my mailing list, because I am doing a private alpha for the game that I'm working on right now. The game that I'm working on is an asynchronous turn-based strategy mobile game that's available for iOS and Android. So feel free to sign up to be a part of that public alpha if you want to help out on that. But enough about that game, let's talk about my Ludum Dare game, Email Phishing. So just to give you a quick overview of my game if you didn't get a chance to play it, the story is you're the manager of a local mom and pop spam filtration service called C-Spam, and basically you're tasked with hiring fishermen who basically have to throw their lines out and catch these emails that are coming through the river, and then they basically decide if it's spam or not spam. So it draws from the tower defense genre because you're hiring fishermen and you're placing them along the river in strategic places, and it pulls from the phishing simulation genre because you have to have good timing when you're catching these emails because the fishermen will flash, and if you click them too early, then it's going to scare the fish away, and if you click them too late, the fish will already be gone. So this is going to be a classic postmortem style video where I go through what went right in the development, what went wrong in the development, and talk a little bit about some of the things that I might do better next time. But before I get too deep into that, I just want to talk a little bit about my brainstorming process and how I actually came up with the game Email Phishing. So anyways, at 6 p.m. on Friday, April the 20th, 2018, the theme for Ludum Dare 41 dropped, which again is Combine Two Incompatible Genres. I didn't really think this theme was going to be chosen, but nonetheless I wasn't really complaining about it. So the first thing I did is I just wrote out a bunch of different game genres and a bunch of game mechanics. Some of the genres I did like a sports, strategy, puzzle, platformer, action, adventure, you know, your basic game genres. Where the game mechanics was more things like walking sim, hack and slash, card battle, first-person shooter, portal game, text-based, management simulation, tower defense, rhythm game, and then so I kind of looked through those and thought what if I combine this thing with that thing, and kind of came up with some weird ones. So the first idea that I actually had was a text-based adventure arcade game. The idea was going to be you walk up to an arcade cabinet, you put a quarter in, you're waiting for this epic arcade game, and then all of a sudden a text-based adventure game pops up. But it's not your average text-based adventure game, it's a more arcadey style text-based adventure game. So when you kill goblins or whatever, then all of a sudden you get these like crazy pew 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 combo. You know, these like arcadey effects happening, things are flashing everywhere, there's a high score leaderboard. Anyways, thought it would be a fun little idea. Ended up not going with that idea though. The other idea that I was kind of toying with for a little bit was a puzzle platformer. So basically it's just like a standard platformer, you're running along, you go to hit the jump button, and then you got to solve a little puzzle. And then if you solve the little puzzle successfully, you'll be able to complete the jump. Thought it might be an interesting little idea. Again, decided not to go with that. So anyways, during the brainstorming process, I was getting a little bit hungry, so I decided to make some dinner. Kind of as I was doing that, I was doing some like mental brainstorming. And then I came up with the title Email Phishing. And then so I was kind of thinking for a while, what kind of game could I make with this title, because I thought the title was pretty hilarious. Again, this is email phishing with an F, and then it basically would be some sort of phishing simulator combined with something. So then I went through that whole list of genres and game mechanics that I had and just kind of started plugging things in and see what sounded right. And then eventually I came across Email Phishing, a tower defense phishing simulator, which I think was just kind of random and hilarious and entertaining and everything. So once I got that idea, I basically, you can kind of see what I did here, drew a little line down the middle and then kind of wrote out the core mechanics of a tower defense game and then the core mechanics of a phishing simulator. So the basic things of what actually needs to be in a tower defense game and what actually needs to be in a phishing simulator. And then so I kind of thought about how I could best combine those two things to make a cohesive game, and then wrote pretty much a full page here of kind of my idea for the game, what I want to get out of it and everything like that. And then once I kind of had that clear idea in place, I went over to this page in my notebook and just wrote a bunch of things of what needed to be in my game, what kind of mechanics, what kind of features, how it should play and everything. And up along the top I kind of wrote the different screens. So we have the splash screen, the story intro screen, tutorial level, actual gameplay, and then a game over screen. And so this whole page of deliverables that I made basically was extremely important to the development of my game. It made it so much easier during the whole craziness of the 48-hour jam for me to know exactly what I need to do and what kind of things that I can sort of forget about. So anyways, that was my Friday night. It was basically just kind of coming up with this idea, listing out the things of what I need to do, and just kind of preparing myself for the rest of the weekend. I'm really glad that I did that. I didn't get any development done during that first day, but that's just fine because I really got a good plan in place for me that sort of set the tone for the rest of the development. And so that sort of leads me into what I did right during my development. So first thing is the planning phase was great. It was very important for me. That I didn't have a whole lot of time during this game jam to develop as much as I'd like to, so that planning phase was super helpful for me. The next thing that went right is the fact that I completed a game in 48 hours, and it was kind of based off of a weird theme too. So it's always an exciting thing to finish a game. I'm glad that I participated in this game jam, even though the theme was a little bit off the wall and kind of made you think outside the box. And the game that I came out with is certainly not the best game that I've ever made. It's also certainly not the worst game, but I am pretty proud that I was able to create a game within 48 hours based off of kind of an off-the-wall theme. So the next thing that went right was my story. I definitely wanted to create a humorous game, as you can tell by the title, Email Phishing, a tower defense phishing simulator. Probably going to be a pretty funny game. So anyways, the main screen that you load up the game into kind of has a little blurb of the story, and I'll just read it off to you. It says, Email Phishing, a tower defense phishing simulator. You are the manager of C-Spam, a local mom and pop spam filtration service. You are tasked with hiring and managing a team of eager young fishermen to get rid of all the spam flowing through your service. You will need to help them catch messages and determine if they should be delivered to the end user. Godspeed. And then also, once you're actually into the game, the spam message that I have is also, I think it's pretty funny. It's basically about, do you want to get ripped fast? And it's those weird emails that you get about pills from some foreign pharmacy or something that you should never absolutely buy pills from. So the next thing that went right during my development was that I actually have a pretty legit tutorial level. So if you play through my game, you'll actually be kind of step through the process of hiring a fisherman, placing him, catching a male, and then determining if it's spam or not spam. So in my main game, something that I need to work on is a tutorial level, just to kind of convey the basic mechanics of the game to someone who's never played my game before. And so I think this was great practice for me to see what actually goes into creating a tutorial level, and some of the things that I have to think about when I'm creating something like that. Basically, the way that I went about it is I just wrote the exact steps and exact messages of what I want to be displayed on the screen and what kinds of things the player will be doing during things. And so this really helped me organize myself of knowing what triggers need to happen and what button does what and what pushing next does and what text should be displayed at the correct times. So writing out all these steps turned out to be extremely helpful for me in making that tutorial level, and I was able to make the tutorial level in about an hour and a half, including writing out all these steps and everything. And a tutorial level is something that I haven't really had in my games, at least not traditionally like that. So again, it was nice to see how planning in advance like that was able to really smooth out that development process, especially because this was taking place leading up very close to the deadline. The next thing that went right was the audio. I think the audio is pretty funny. Obviously, none of the audio is mine. I don't have any music in my game, but basically they're just a couple sound effects. So when you mishandle a message, you'll hear this sound. So it's basically like the Windows error sound. And so mishandling a message means if you catch a legitimate mail or you let a spam mail flow all the way through to the end, that sound will play. There's also the wastebasket sound, which sounds like this. And that sound is played when you catch a spam mail. The next sound that's played is the classic AOL
"You've got mail"
sound that is played when a legit message flows all the way through to the end, and you get a point for that, of course. And the last sound that I have in the game, which is played when you lose, is the Donald Trump "You're fired."
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
So again, none of those audio components are mine, so if you rate my game on the Ludum Dare website, you can't rate me in the audio category because those are not my original creations, but you know, that's okay because I think they really do add to the overall humor of the game. The next thing that went right was the pathfinding. Now the pathfinding is going to pop up in the what went right and what went wrong categories, just a heads up there. But basically it works really well for the messages flowing through as well as the fishermen. You'll notice if you drop a fisherman just kind of somewhere randomly on the map, they'll actually find their way over to the stream and begin fishing. So I think that pathfinding is something that works out pretty well. I'm just using the built-in Unity pathfinding for that. And there are some new features in there, and it was kind of nice to play around with those a little bit. But I'll come back to pathfinding in just a little bit, don't worry. And the final thing that I think went right is the scaling. And I basically just mean the size of everything on the screen. I feel like I did a good job at using my screen real estate for any text that pop up on the screen, the map, the fisherman, the messages, any UI buttons. For all my Ludum Dare games, I make them in a 4:3 aspect ratio, and that's because I don't know if everyone out there is playing on a widescreen monitor, and I basically just want to be able to cater to anyone, even if they're playing my game on a super low resolution monitor. So I feel like I did a pretty good job at using that slightly limited space in a pretty decent way. Again, this is a fixed screen game, so you can't really scroll the camera around to see different parts of the map or anything. Everything you need is all right there on that one screen. Alright, so now we're going to talk about what went wrong in my game, everyone's favorite section. So getting out the gate this time, I did not permanently delete my project as I did in the first game jam that I participated in, Ludum Dare 49. Go check out the postmortem on that one to hear the full story on that. kind of embarrassing. But anyways, the first thing that went wrong is that I just had a busy weekend that weekend, so I wasn't able to dedicate as much time to making the game as I would have liked to. And I think the game kind of shows that. As you can tell, it's not really polished, there's not a whole lot of artwork. Anyways, we're going to get into the other stuff that went wrong here. But just due to circumstances, I wasn't able to focus on my game the whole entire time. And I kind of knew that going in, so that's why I decided to make something a little bit on the simpler side. The previous game that I made for the previous game jam, Ludum Dare 40, was also a tower defense game, and that one's a little bit deeper. It has much better graphics and everything, so you can kind of tell because I spent a lot more time on that one than this one. So what went wrong with Pathfinding? Basically, I just spent way too much time on it. As I'd mentioned, Unity's kind of updated their pathfinding a little bit, and it's added in some nice features, and I kind of tried to take advantage of some of those things. But there were some things that just were not working as they should have been for like the longest time, and it took me a really long time to figure them out. But eventually I was able to figure them out, and then got the pathfinding working all smooth and everything. But then I kind of ran into this issue where when you drop a fisherman on the map, they wouldn't always face the river and start fishing. So I wanted them to walk up to the stream, face the stream, and then start fishing. You know, you wouldn't want them to like walk up and have them start fishing on the land or whatever. And it took me quite a while to figure out a solution to this, and I ended up coming up with this like crazy algorithm that gets into some like weird math and stuff. Feel free to check out my GitHub repository. I have all the source code available for this game. But basically it ended up just being kind of weird and funky, but it totally works. You know, if you play my game now, you can drop the guys anywhere on the map, they'll walk up to the stream, face the stream, start fishing, no problem. But unfortunately it just took way too much time, and I spent way too much time, you know, working on little things like the pathfinding, which I mean is something critical to the game, but basically I wasn't able to dedicate as much time to making my game look prettier or balancing it and everything like that, which we'll be getting into next. So the next thing that went wrong in my game was balance. And balance is something that I pretty much always leave to the very last minute for these Ludum Dare game jams. And I literally was balancing my game during submission hour, which is not the right thing to do at all. And because I had so little time, I knew that I was not going to have, you know, obviously a whole lot of time to make it all balanced and nice and everything. So basically I kind of made the balancing work in such a way that it forced short play sessions as opposed to a much more long and drawn out one. Basically I'd much rather have someone have a positive and short experience with my game as opposed to a really long and negative experience with my game. And one of the reasons that I kind of wanted to do a shorter experience is just because I didn't have a whole lot of variety in the messages that were popping up. So I mean, I know it wasn't super entertaining to see the same 2 messages pop up over and over and over again. So I wanted to force a short play session, but the main complaint so far from my feedback has been eventually you just get to the point where there's just a constant stream of messages flowing through, and there's no possible way that you can, you know, go through all those messages, so you lose pretty quickly after that. And that sort of brings me to my next point. Not necessarily something that went wrong, but if I had a little bit more time, I would like to, you know, have a little bit more variety in the messages. This was kind of the idea going into the game, is I wanted to have like a full, like almost database of spam messages and a full list of legitimate messages, and the game just kind of randomly pull from the 2, and then the player, when they catch a message, they have to actually read through it, and then they make the determination if it's spam or if it can be sent through. So I think that would have made the game a lot better, because I think it'd be a lot more humorous with all the spam messages and everything, and just add a lot more variety to the game, and kind of an interesting dynamic of actually reading through and making a determination if it's spam or not. As opposed to how it is now, where there's just one spam message and one legit message, and you instantly know the spam message and you instantly know the legit message, and you can just click the button super fast. You don't need to read through and make a determination if it's good or bad. So then the last thing that went wrong is just kind of some other features that I had to cut out. Obviously art took pretty much a major backseat in this one. As far as art goes, I basically just have the background and then the messages flowing through, Everything else is just boxes of like programmer art, so that's fine, but you know, not super pretty or anything. And the other feature which I kind of wanted to implement was the ability to move fishermen. And so basically what would happen is you'd select a fisherman and then you'd be able to click somewhere else on the map, and then they would walk to wherever you click to. So I had a decent amount of this code actually programmed into the game, but it wasn't something that was completely necessary, and it was just kind of would have been a waste of time, I think, for me to finish that out and also add that into the tutorial section and everything. But you can see if you place one of the fishermen kind of on the map way away from the stream, this line shows up, which is basically their path of where they're going to travel to. And this is something that would have popped up if you had selected that and then you select somewhere else on the map. It would kind of show you where your fisherman was going to be. So those are pretty much the things that I think that got wrong. One of the things that I saw in feedback, which I'm kind of unsure on this mechanic, is the whole catch and release thing. You know, you catch a spam, it gets out of the water right away, but you release a good message and then it actually goes back into the stream, and there's a possibility that you may catch that again. So I'm not sure if that's a good mechanic. I think it was the right decision because there's the whole catch and release for fishermen thing, and then it kind of added some confusion of the good messages being mixed in with bad messages later down the road. So I personally like it. I think there were some people though on the feedback forum saying that they didn't care for that too much. But let me know what you think about that mechanic in the comment section below. And then so real quickly, what I think I can do better next time. Spend a lot less time working on the game mechanic. In the next game jam, I want to make a really simple game mechanic. I mean, literally like a match 3 or something, but just polish the heck out of it. Make it look nice, make it actually balanced, make it play nice. So that's something that I really want to do during my next Ludum Dare. Just make something super simple, but make up for that in story and art and actually have some audio that I've created. I think having a well-polished game will stand out much more than having a complex game mechanic. Alright, so that's going to wrap up my Ludum Dare 41 Postmortem for my game Email Fishing, a tower defense fishing simulator. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button. Also feel free to subscribe to my channel. I post a bunch of independent game developer related content, so feel free to browse my channel, check more of that out. If you have any feedback for me, feel free to drop it down in the comment section below. Don't forget to go play my game Email Fishing. The link is down in the description below. And also visit my website and sign up for my mailing list so you can be part of my private alpha for my upcoming game. Anyways, thank you all for watching this video. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.